Okay, of course, John. We got to say to tell everybody watching that you got to bet responsibly these days, haven't you?
Yeah.
um, now, I just I'm going to be a little bit intrusive here because I'd like to know. You're obviously you're still betting for a living. So, are you a judge? Are you a form student that spends hours in the form book? Is that the majority of your selection process, or is it still a lot more sort of doing business and sharing business and networking and that sort of thing?
Look, I'd say so. It's a cocktail of a whole. Look, like I could speak to 4 or 5 people every morning that I know with 25 years, say, okay, and I'd have a lot of respect for these people, and they for me, okay. So we compare notes and all that. So if it's an A versus B situation in a horse race, and it's just like say 6-4 each or two, and I have my form done, and I'm coming down very much on the side of A anyway. Like if the other 4 guys I speak to are coming down on the side of B, there's no way in the world am I going to say, I don't care what they think, I'm back in A. I wouldn't have any bet in that race. Now, I may not swing around and go with them, but there's no way I'm backing my own horse anyway. Do you know what I mean? I mean, you have to have respect for other people's opinions, especially winners anyway. You know what I mean? And like I've seen people that wouldn't that just have pure faith in their own opinion and say, I don't care what fellas are back and I'm doing this, end of story. I found that kind of ideal, that not too beneficial in the long run. Like I mean, you don't want to be in the boat on your own and it going down and everybody else on the shore waving at you. You know what I mean? Looking at you and you're sinking in your ship. That's the way I look at it anyway. I mean, I would respect people that when we speak to each other and you get a little vibe into what they fancy this and you much prefer him turn around and say, yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. I fancy that horse as well or whatever. And but I wouldn't be like as arrogant or something enough to say, I look, I don't care what you're saying. I'm going this way anyway. End of story. And I would be pay attention to betting markets. Some people would say, oh, it's 2-1. No, it's 4-1. You have more on all this old stuff. I'd be the exact opposite of that. I'd be saying you should be having a lot less on. You should be having nothing on it if you can, or try to maybe pay a fine and get out of a horse that goes out to a price that it should not be. Now, the one thing I would have said in my years gambling, the one thing I reckon I was good at was knowing the prices of horses. If you know what I'm saying. So if I priced a horse even money and it was 6-4, so obviously I take the 6-4. Like if that horse went down to 11-4, in my opinion, there's something wrong here. There's something that I haven't seen or something that I don't know nothing about. Why this horse has gone to such a price, and for that reason, it can't win in my book anyway. Do you know what I mean? Because this horse should never ever be 11-4. Do you know what I'm saying? So if I'm on at 6-4, I will easily pay a fine at 5-2 and 9-4 or whatever to get out of my bet and pay and lose in it no matter which and draw a line under it and go on to the next race. I have found that rather than sticking it out, and it isn't the easy thing to do to pay a fine or admit that you're in trouble here. But it's a bit like you buying the share at a fiver and they go into £3, and you fellas say, oh, we'll buy more of them. The best thing to do probably in that instance is get out of your share and take your loss. But the psyche with people is like go again and you'll average it 9-4 now instead of, you know what I mean, that kind of thing. I'd be thinking the exact opposite to that. I would say that if the market is telling you that something is too good to be true, it's because it usually is. And like I hear fellas saying like, oh, we have more on it. It's out to 10-1 now. It should be. I priced it 4-1. It's 10-1. Double up again. I don't get that one in here for say. That wouldn't be the way I'd bet in a million years.
Would you be the opposite way? So if you made something 9-4 and it was smashed into 6-4 all morning, would I mean, would you respect that the money that was making it go into that price was live? Is the money that makes horses move these days got to be live money? So would you then be more confident and still back it, or would you think that's too short?
Like would you believe with these algorithms now? I'm not even so sure, but up to lately, I mean, I've got caught in that trap hundreds of times. Like you look at a horse, it's especially, do you know what I got caught a load of times doing it? It's places like Dundalk. You'd look at races and you say, like, you couldn't even look at these races, they're so difficult. Next thing you turn on the telly, there's something 7-4. It's trained by a guy that trains 2 winners every 10 years, you know what I mean? And he said, geez, I have to lay this, comes home alone, you know what I mean? But as you're right, it's 7-4 for a reason, like, you know what I mean? So invariably now, I'll stick to that motto anyway. When something's too good to be true, it usually is. If you can lay something at 7-4 that should be 7-2, you shouldn't be laying it at all, probably. Do you know what I'm saying? Whereas the exact opposite is also the case. If a horse is 7-2, it should be 7-4. You shouldn't be backing it. I would be a big respecter of the market. Absolutely, no, absolutely.
And would you have to have some sort of consistency in what you do? Because otherwise, you're going to get yourself in all sorts of a state. If you lay this one, you don't lay that one, you back that one, you don't back that one. If you've got, even if you haven't consciously made it, do you think there is some sort of consistency there where you always do something, or is it a hunchy thing as well at the same time?
Oh, there's all sorts of things. There's hunches. Look, there's look. I always found you same as any gambler. Like I'm no different to any gambler. You'll play better from the front, always. You'll do stupid stuff from behind. Always will. Like you know what I mean. Like I'll chase. It's the same as the same as most people. No, I won't chase to till the 11:44 and Suffolk Downs. You know what I mean. But I will chase to a point. I mean, I will have a bet. Maybe I could easily have one bet more than I should have on a day. You know what I mean? And they're the days I never mind losing. The days I hate, the days I hate. Like if I go to a meeting and I say I fancy AB, I fancy four horses, and the four of them are beat, and I'll say like going home. Well, I'm entitled to have lost. I lost four multiplied by whatever I had on them anyway. So I know roughly what I should have lost. And if I lose that amount of money, that doesn't bother me. But the day I go and I have those four are beat, and I'll do two other things that I would not have done if the four of them had won, and I have a bad day over that. They're the days that kind of frustrate me a bit. You know what I mean? I never mind losing, but I hate losing more than I should have on any given day. But what was the question there again, Simon? Sorry.
Would you have a consistency? So if something that was too that you fancied had gone out too big a price, would you always, sort of like maybe back it, maybe lay it instead of backing it, or would you, if the one was too short, would you still go in?
No, no. I mean, as I said, I've put my leg into that trap a lot of the time. The ones that when they're too short to lay them, I think that's not a good idea in the long term. Now they're too short for a reason. Normally, do you know what I mean? There is some reason why they are that short, and most people can't see it. The insiders who know what they're doing will be able to see it, but a lot of the time, the average Joe Soap, including myself, can't see why this horse is 6-4. But when it's coming up the straight, hosing in, you can see why it was 6-4. Do you know what I mean? That kind of way. And or it's because it's going to make the running in the race or something like that. There is some edge to someone knows something why this horse is going to be 6-4. But look, that's the way I look at it. I always think that look, I don't know. I mean, gambling is funny. You need to have a good mind in gambling too. You need to be able to, if you have a bad day, that you can take it on the chin, and you need to be able to not get carried away when things are going right, because the right hook is only right around the corner. You know what I mean? And if you need to be able to think that if you are on a bad run, that you have the confidence in your own ability that you're going to pull your way out of it. You know what I mean? That you can't be saying that oh, I'm gone forever here, if unless you are actually gone forever. Like, but there is a time when maybe will come in somebody's life in the career, and they say, look, I am washed up here. I'm no good at this game anymore, and then you've got to go. But for me, if you're good at something and you think you'll be able to turn it around, stay at it. But you don't want to stay on the pitch too long. It's a bit like these soccer players that play till they're 36 and 37 years of age. You know, you must know when to go, and what's that saying? You're going to know when to hold them and know when to fold them. That's basically a big part of gambling. But the mind is very important. You need to have a good head on your shoulders to be able to take the rough with the smooth.
But the sort of people that you deal with, the sort of mysterious gambling sort of community. Would the Is there a difference between the Irish and the UK racing, as in the sharp information and what's more reliable?
Look, I suppose for us, the Irish stuff is probably more reliable because it's a home game for us. You know what I mean? Like like nobody is going to wake up in their bed and out of their bed in Newmarket of a Wednesday morning and ring me and tell me like, oh, you should be on this. You know what I mean? You know, you know what I'm saying? Like it filters down through, and then you don't know. Sometimes you can get misinformed and that. Like, but you quickly know who's telling you the truth and who's making it up and who's sticking in wrong stuff and all that, and you get to know from the like you can see by way the horse will travel in the market and the way it travels in the race whether the information was correct or not. You know what I mean? I mean, I've laid horses for fellas that told me that they won't win. They've been beat, all right, but like they've been beat heads and necks and things like that. You know what I mean? It's pure miracle stuff. You know what I mean? And some of them would win. You know what I mean? Some of them would win. So you know that even though your man got it beat, he won right at the same time. You know what I mean? Or if a fella tells you this will win and it's 11-10, it goes out to 3-1 and can't be found. You know he wasn't right. Like you know what I mean? So you'd be probably taking him with a pinch of salt. The next day he'd be coming like that. So look, there's a lot of like lesson bought's better than lesson taught in this game, isn't it? Like really. So I think that over the years you get to know people you can trust. You get to know people that know what they're talking about, and you get to deal with people that will pay, the people that won't pay, all that kind of stuff. So you filter all that kind of stuff out, and nowadays I'm happy that I'm betting anyone that I bet with will pay me. I'm not interested in hard luck stories afterwards saying I didn't get this, I didn't get that. I'd rather have no bet with someone that unless they will definitely part if I do, if I'm lucky enough to beat them or win a bet off them. I can't be entertaining getting like sob stories after the race because the margins are too small nowadays to be incurring bad debts. One time those things were okay when you were when the money was a wash in the betting ring, but nowadays like one guy knock you for a year and it takes maybe half your profit, so that's no good either.
So would you be betting with more, uh, in inverted commas, commission agents as opposed to directly with a bookmaker?
Well, I have one account with a bookie. It's to win handy money. It's nothing major. I bet with commission agents or agent really. I would bet through people that put on in shops and things like that. You can still get odd bets on in shops here and there. It's harder work nowadays for them. But I don't bet the way I used to either. You know what I mean? So what's a bet for me now is a lot more manageable than it was one time. You know what I mean? So if I'm happy to have if the bets I'm happy with nowadays, I wouldn't have been happy with 15 years ago because it wouldn't be enough. But I'm very happy to have these bets nowadays if I can get them on. And I hear fellas saying they can't get on. Getting on is not a problem for me. But you can't get on at the right prices anymore, the real juicy prices. You know what I'm saying? So basically, if I'm taking the difference, I think, Simon, is that if I'm taking maybe 7-4, 5-2 shots nowadays, the horses that I could have backed at 5-2 10 or 15 years ago, I have to make the decision now, will I back them at 7-4 or not? And that's a big difference in like if you're hitting the winner at like one winner out of three at 5-2, you're in profit. One winner out of three at 7-4, you're in. It's a loss. Like so that is a difference. That's the big difference now. I find anyway in modern day gambling is you don't get the prices. I don't anyway get the prices that I did one time.